Leanna Harris, the baby's mother, also part of the investigation.
During this, she's like, "Why aren't you crying? Why aren't you reacting to this?" She said, "I must be in shock."
Stunning claims of raunchy text messages.
He's got this whole second life that he's living with alternate personalities.
Suspicious internet searches. Harris watched videos online about the dangers of being trapped in a hot car.
And she looks at him, she's like, "Well, did you say too much?"
This was his joy. This was his pride. He was very proud to be Cooper's daddy.
You know, it just seems like every single day new details are coming out about this case, and each day it makes it harder and harder to process what may have happened. This week we learned Leanna Harris, the mother of the toddler who died, left Georgia. She's gone to stay with a family member at their house in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. She's also hired an attorney. Now, her husband, Justin Ross Harris, who is charged with murder, was fired by his employer this week, Home Depot. He had previously been put on unpaid leave. And investigators tried to simulate the heat inside that car that killed 22-month-old Cooper Harris. Just a few of the updates for you. I want to bring in HLN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson to be with me now. Joey, so hard to hear some of the details in this case continue to be. Here's what stood out to me, though. She hired an attorney. Whenever someone lawyers up, it doesn't mean guilt. She's not been charged in this case. She's not been named a suspect, but it definitely raises red flags considering some of her previous statements.
It certainly does. First of all, Lynn, good morning. Always a pleasure to be with you. Listen, the fact is that a lot of people are wondering what her criminal culpability is. Did she participate in this particular crime? We're talking about a precious 22-month-old who is now dead. And so people want to know. Why, Lynn? Her behavior, very strange, right? You would expect and anticipate that a mother would be shocked, would just be, unconsolable as a result of the loss of her child. She, for whatever reason, hasn't been. But it's not only that. It's the fact that she goes to the daycare and makes the statement, Lynn. What does she say? He must have left, my husband, that is, the baby in the car. She goes and sees him, and she says in prison, when she gets to him, did you say too much? And so I think it's right for her and proper to lawyer up, because you have to believe, Lynn, that the investigators are leaving no stone unturned in seeing whether she had anything to do. In fact, if she conspired, because if they raise that charge to first-degree child abuse and then they go after malicious, right, depraved heart murder, capital murder, she gets embroiled in this. She's in some major, major trouble. She needs a lawyer.
Nevertheless, she left the state. She went to Alabama. She can. She's not been charged in this, so she certainly is free to do so. But do you think it makes her look bad?
Well, no. I mean, at this point, she's allowed to do, having no court restrictions or anything else. And you pointed out, and you made clear, Lynn, that, she's not a suspect at this point. So she's free and at liberty to do whatever it is that she chooses. I think ultimately, if investigators come to determine that she had some, criminal involvement here, she's not going to be allowed to go anywhere. And, the fact is that what a lawyer will do is serve as a buffer, of course, between her and investigators. And what I'd be interested in knowing, Lynn, is when investigators, as they continue to investigate, how much will she talk, if at all? I bet you that lawyer says, zip it.
And if she doesn't talk, what does that mean? I mean, if she doesn't talk, that she can't incriminate herself if, in fact, she did anything wrong.
You know what happens, Lynn, is most of us attorneys will say to our clients, don't say anything, okay? And, in fact, her attorney, I think, is going to be concerned that already she said too much. And so whenever you speak, there's the potential to incriminate yourself. So I don't think that she'll be that forthcoming. What will also be interesting, Lynn, is whether or not if she was involved, investigators will try to turn her into state's evidence to say, look, let's cut a deal. And again, presuming that the investigation moves forward and she's found to have, unclean hands here, whether they'll say, let's cut a deal. Because what do we know, Lynn? There's also no spousal privilege in Georgia. As a result of that, you can testify against the husband.
Interesting. Yeah. As always, Joey Jackson, thanks so much for being here, especially having you in Atlanta. It's good to see you. Take care.
Pleasure and a privilege, always. Thank you, Lynn.